Hey everyone, CPO here, and I have a tie wrap hanging off my mirror. Let me show you why. All right, so in this video, I'm installing my rock hard 4x4 skid plate for the fuel tank. Problem is I had to remove the factory skid to get it to fit on. Let me show you why. So this is the rock hard 4x4 skid, and it's got this little lip that goes around the side of the fuel tank. No problem, right? Well, as you'll see here in a second, I had a problem, and that is this little lip on the tank was pushed out so much that there's no way the rock hard 4x4 would have cleared it. So I'm gonna catch you up to show you where I'm at now and how I got to this point. But what you can see here is my tank is held up with a couple of tie straps because the factory skid is also what holds the fuel tank up. So let me just get you caught up, and then we'll go back to prepping this thing for reinstallation, and then we'll get that rock hard 4x4 skid in. All right, so deep in the underbelly of Overclocked, we have this fuel tank skid that has seen a better day or two. And what I want to do is supplement this with the rock hard 4x4 skid. Now I have the entire skid system. You can see the orange evap skid there. The next thing that's going on is the transmission transfer case skid, and then the actually it's probably the transfer case skid, and then the motor and transmission skid, and they're going to overlap and connect here to this new rock hard 4x4 transmission cross member. But it's best to put the fuel tank skid on first, simply because the transfer case skid is also going to bolt to it. So for efficiency's sake, this is the way to go. Now I've been dreading this for a long time, not because of the install of the rock hard skid, but because in order to get it on, I have to sort of clean up this guy here. And the reason is I took a pretty good hit or two here, which you can see has bowed out my skid, which has caused this thing right here to flare up. And because it's flared up, it's pushed out, the rock hard 4x4 skid will not fit over until I fix that. So what I want to do, pull this skid, sort of beat it back into shape. Right now it's pressed up into the plastic fuel tank right in this area. I want to clean that up. I want to sort of de-rust it a little bit. And yeah, so I'm dreading it because it requires basically pulling the fuel tank, because the skid on the JK is also the fuel tank mounting bracket. So now I am going to try and pull this off without dropping the tank entirely. I'm going to use straps to hold it up. We'll see if that works. It might not. I want to bring it down just a couple of inches, get some straps in there to hold the tank, and then drop the steel all the way down. And then I can, you know, manipulate it slightly with a hammer. All right, as you can see, I've got the tank loose. It's still held in place with these bolts, which have been loosened up. But what that allows me to do is get in here and I can manipulate that tank separately from the skid. So what I want to do is slip a tie strap inside here underneath that tank and get it worked down. And I don't know where else to connect it to, but that's my goal now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've officially pulled my fuel tank skid without dropping the tank. Just those two straps. So you saw my process. Start with this end, sort of get a strap up there where I can drop the tank enough to get in about the middle and slide a strap up in the back. So yeah, worked out really well. And this thing is nasty. So not only does it get cleaned up on the bottom, it's going to get cleaned up on the top. Look at all that crud caked in underneath there. This is probably a lot of Roush Creek and Capone Bridge mud. Not sure exactly. Some pebbles for the pebble garden. Yeah. And you can see I didn't have to disconnect anything. Nothing is tensioned unnecessarily. So the tank looks good. It doesn't look like there's any big dents in it that I should worry about. So yeah, now I'll get a hammer, beat this thing back into place. You can see where it's been rubbing on the tank, and that's the crease that sort of, I think, bowed that out. Anyway, get this thing cleaned up. Check it out. I have the factory skid slash hanger. I'm going to call it the hanger, the fuel tank hanger now, because that's what it is, with the rock hard 4x4 skid plate on top. Now, you wouldn't normally install it like this. Normally you would install it with the hanger still on the vehicle. But since I had this off, had to clean it up. I've done some rust treatment to it. That's OSFO'd there. So you can see all those rust spots are turning black now. And I was just looking at this thinking, I wonder if I can go ahead and pre-install the skid on the hanger while it's out of the Jeep. Here's why I want to do that. It's because you have to drill little holes in the hanger. And if it's in the Jeep, these are not super easy to get to. Matter of fact, you have to pull the rear tire to get to that one. So I've got easy access and easy opportunity to do that right now before I even put the assembly back into the Jeep. So that's what I'm going to do. I did go ahead and reuse the factory transfer case skid bolt. That's going to get replaced, but because that's going into a threaded hole, that's a good alignment and indexing marker. So I went ahead and put that on and then just double checked, and I think all of these other holes are going to line up. Now, there is some risk that when I get the thing up there, something's not going to line up right, but I think the risk is minimal. And I think this is going to save me a lot of trouble in the long run. So, like I said, I wouldn't normally pull the hanger out to install the skid, but since it's already out, I can literally just bolt them together and stick the whole thing up back as a unit. So I'm going to try that. So yeah, as you can imagine, this is a lot easier to work on off the Jeep. I do want to say one thing though. And that is, if you are doing this while it's on the Jeep, there's a little bit of consternation around drilling through here and not drilling into your fuel tank. Just know when you hit through this layer, there's a lip here, you've got more metal to go to. So if your drill bit runs through and hits, just stop drilling, but you're not gonna risk going into the plastic fuel tank. It's not, there's not plastic back here behind where you're drilling. So I know that's one of the things I was kind of wondering about when I was trying to plan this install, and that's just not gonna be a problem. Well, I got it all up in there, and for the most part, it wasn't horrible. This was my problem child right here, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. But I got everything else started, and really, I think the biggest challenge I have is because of this guy right here, this bolt from my long arm. Again, the long arms are always giving me grief, is right where that skid plate wants to go. So I basically just manhandled it in there. I don't think it's going to be a problem if that's touching, because that shouldn't move. But yeah, a couple things I could do. I could cut out the skid plate around it. I could cut the bolt shorter, but for now I'm just going to leave it and see if it works. I am happy with my decision to go ahead and pre-install those bolts that hold everything together, because again, I'd have to pull this tire to get to it otherwise. So it was heavy trying to put the entire assembly up at once, and you can see there's some marks from the jack, but oh well. There's going to be a lot more marks than that here really soon. So replace these two front bolts with the Rockhard 4x4 hardware, and then these domes, and everything else is being tightened down now. I'm just torquing them down. 48 foot-pounds is what the specs are from the factory, so that or a good oomph will work. And then the bolt hole right there is going to be where the transfer case skid plate connects to. And I'll save that for the next video. This one is just going to be on that fuel tank skid. And yeah, I've been needing to do this for a long time. I've been dreading the job, and I'm happy to have it done. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.